I'm here with Toni D. Newman, the director of the Coalition for Justice and Equality Across Movements at NMAC, the National Minority AIDS Council in Washington, D.C. How are you doing today?
I'm very good. Thank you, sir. How are you?
I'm really great. How did you get into that line of work?
What, 30 years ago, I was a sex worker in the meat packaging district of New York City. I had transitioned from a male to a female after I graduated from Wake Forest in grad school. Lost my job, was working on the streets with other trans women of color, and over 80% of them had HIV. Uh, I worked on the street for several years. I never did get HIV, but most of my counterparts who did get it died from it, from HIV. All the young ladies that I met who helped me transition, who helped me learn the life of a trans woman back in the 90s. Most of them are dead, but one person. And I promised to dedicate myself to helping fight against HIV, gonorrhea, AIDS, syphilis, any STDs. Um, and that's how I got started almost 30 years ago in this line of work. I eventually did get a job and start working in the field of advocacy, but that's how I got started. Um, to tribute most of the women who I met who died from HIV/AIDS uh, during the early part of the AIDS virus. Um, and I was fortunate enough not to get an STD, but I am an activist and an advocate for those that have HIV in order that they can have a good, complete life. And that's how I landed here.
Right. And uh, this is Pride Month, and Oprah Winfrey, she recently, talked about her brother who died of AIDS. What was it like in the 90s, like, the fear and the stigma around, like, AIDS?
If you said you had AIDS in the 90s, people wouldn't even take a cup from your hand. They thought they could get it from if you touched them, if you sat next to them, if you breathed on them. If you were in the same room, they thought it could just be transferred through the air, and we now know that's not true. But it was a pretty hard time because most people who uh, who had HIV were stigmatized, like you're not welcome here. Hospitals were saying, "Oh, you're not welcome here. I'm sick. I need medical care. You're not welcome here." So it was pretty intense. There's still stigma, but of course now we have doctors and hospitals and clinics who will treat you, and we have drugs from Gilead, Vive, and Merck who can help you live for 50 years with HIV. I've known people who've had it for 50 years now. But back in the early 90s, late 90s, people were afraid. If you said you had HIV or if you looked like you had HIV, people didn't want you in the building. I mean, they didn't want you around. They would ask you to leave and get out. I was with a lot of girls who looked sick and were sick and were told to get out. And we had to leave from restaurants, public places, and they thought I had it too because I was with them, and we all had to leave. It was just stigma and judgment about something that they did not understand. We understand better now, but it's still stigma. There's still stigma with it. So.
Wow. Like, I'm sorry that you had to go through that. What's it like, losing so many people like in your life that were close to you?
You look back, they lived their life fully authentic. They gave it 100, as my cousins say, they gave it 100, 100%. So, I salute them. I honor them with my work, my advocacy. And my father's died not from AIDS, he died from cancer, no different. He died from prostate cancer. Any disease. AIDS is a disease just like cancer and other diseases. It's a disease, and we should keep that. It's treatable. Hopefully, they'll find a cure. But it was hard. I lost my father during that same time, during the 90s, and it was a difficult time, because I lost a lot of girlfriends. I lost my father. It was difficult. But, through difficult times comes strength. And that really gave me a lot of strength to stand up against hate, discrimination for people who have HIV, for people who are gay, lesbian, bisexual, trans, and for trans folk. Uh, I'm much stronger because of it. And I use that sadness and pain to turn it into power. And that's what I've done, or tried to do
Most
as
definitely.
successfully as I can.
You
I've tried to
mentioned
do.
hate and discrimination, and we live in a time like, especially online, you see like, all this hateful anti-transgender rhetoric. What can be done to like improve that conversation? Do you feel like, there's something that can be done to reach people who are hateful?
I do stuff just like this to educate and give people awareness. I'm a human being. I'm a voting American citizen. I pay my taxes. So I'm really no different from anybody else who is an American. My thing is, why are you hating on 1.5 million Americans who most of you have never even had a meal with? Most of the people who are spewing this hate have never really had lunch or dinner or an encounter with a trans person. So I'm asking, where does the hate come from? And if you tell me, oh, God has called me because I'm a holy Christian, God has not called anyone to hate. God has not called anyone to kill. God has not called anyone to discriminate. The God that I serve is a God of love, compassion, and understanding. There's a lot of things I don't understand, Ryan. I don't hate it. I don't understand a man who has 5 wives, but I don't go around, I want to pass a law that this can never happen in America. If these 5 women want to be with this one man and they're over 18 years of age, why would I care? I'm not paying the bills. I'm not facilitating anything. So I don't really know where the hate comes from. Why do you hate me? What have I done to you to deserve hate and discrimination where you want to kill and attack and pass bills that I can't get health care, that I'm not treated fairly? I'm an American. I'm no less or no better than you as an American. Why am I being disintegrated as something less than an American? So hopefully, meetings like this will help people to become educated and aware that transgenders are not looking for special treatment. We just want to be treated fairly. I've been a transgender woman of color for 30 years. Um, um, I have love in my heart for everybody. I don't carry any hate because hate is, as Maya Angelou says, uh, it is a disease. And why would I want a disease in my body daily, hating on people that I don't even know, wanting to hurt people that I've never even met? My question has always been, why do you hate me? And please don't say God, because God is a God of love. So why do you really hate me? What have I ever done to you to deserve you to hate me so much? I'm an American, and I just want to be treated as an American. That's all.
Do you feel that sometimes the Christian community can be hypocritical because you see like I see a lot of like, alleged religious people like, voicing anti-transgender
Yeah,
and rhetoric.
they're using God in the Bible. I was raised up in a Pentecostal Bible church. I know the Bible just as good as just about anybody. I can quote the Old and New Testament fairly well. I mean, I thought at 18, my mother and father thought I was going to be a reverend, a preacher. Of course, I didn't take that journey. I went to college and I didn't go to divinity school and I didn't become a preacher. Uh, I'm no longer in Christianity, but I am a spiritualist and I love God. I pray every day for me and my partner, for me and my family. I send love to my friends and associates. I know there's a God because He pulled me off the streets when I was homeless and look where I am now. So I know there's a God who appreciates me, and I think God judges us on our heart. How do you treat my other people? How do you treat and love your neighbor? I think that's really what it's all about. So I don't really get into Christianity because I find out most of these people are doing more than I ever did uh, as Christians. I mean, the church, we're all human. We all make mistakes. As you found out, a lot of the so-called big pastors have been brought down to the scandal. I'm not judging them. We're all humans. So how can one human judge another human with hate and discrimination? God has not called us to do that. I don't believe there's any God of any religion telling anyone to kill, hurt, destroy, humiliate. I don't believe in that. That's not what kind of God I pray to every day and I serve. I don't believe in that type of Christianity that goes around saying I hate gays, I hate this, I hate that, I hate that. You're going to hell. You're not God. Uh, and I will have to atone to God for whatever I've done, and I'm willing to stand before Him as the trans woman Toni Newman, and said I did the best I can on earth, and judge me accordingly. I will take a judgment from God, but not from a man or woman living on earth. You don't have that power to judge anyone. No one has power to judge anyone.
Most definitely, and we live, in a time like, where like, despite all the good work you're doing, there's times where it seems like, is it being effective. Like I think like, at Minnetonka, the police at Hopkins High School, they are investigating a possible hate crime. A 17-year-old transgender girl and junior at the school was first called a homophobic slur before she was attacked outside of a
Mhm.
bathroom. What are your thoughts about like, events like that?
These are parents. They hear this in their home. Because how do young people grow up to hate? I mean, at 15, nobody in my house was telling me you should hate white people, you should hate Indians, you should hate Asians. I wasn't raised that way. The parents have put this type of commentary in their sons and daughters, and they take this stuff to school to say these trans kids they're evil. Oh, blah blah blah. They are putting hate in their child. And my question to a parent is, why would you raise your child to hate another child who, as I understand, none of them were friends. They didn't even know her. And she had done nothing but go to the bathroom, come out, and be called a homophobic slur, a transphobic slur, and then beat up. What did you achieve? Let's say you beat her up, you killed her. What have you achieved? What was your goal? You're going to go to jail for murder. You're going to go to jail for assault. I am a student of the law. And I know a lot of people as black people, oh, the law in America. I believe in the law because without it, we are just irrational, crazy folk running around with no punishment. And I do think if you do these crimes, you should go to jail and spend time in prison. If you want to beat up people, attack people who have done nothing to you, you should go to jail. And I'm a student of the law.
Right.
And I do
You're a Juris Doctorate candidate, aren't you?
I am, and it's been a long time coming. A part-time student, I'm almost there, but I'm a student of the
Congratulations.
law, and I use the law to let every person with hate, such as HRC and others, we take them to court. They say what you've just done, buddy, is against the law, and I will see you in court, and let us take our cases to a higher authority. And if I lose, Ryan, I lose, but I take them to court. Because if they broke the law, that's what the law in America says. You have to be held accountable for your actions.
Most definitely. And
And
we
I believe in that. I believe in that with all my heart. I believe
we
in that
live
with
in
all
a
my heart.
we live in a time, where we have a convicted felon, running for the presidency. Uh, and we have some very
And
hateful people, in the House of Representatives. I think of like, Marjorie Taylor Greene. She appeared in an anti-transgender rap video. How does that make you feel being a transgender and having these elected officials, propagate hate, the people who should be, fighting for justice and equality?
Well, I'll tell Marjorie Green, which I've said 5 times in public. I'd love to take you to lunch or dinner in DC, and let's talk about where all of this animosity and hostility comes from to the trans community. Because every time I get with someone like this and take them to dinner or lunch, Ryan, and I say, well, where's this coming from? I use you as an example. Where's this coming from, Ryan? I see you put out some really hateful articles about trans folk. We're psychotic. We're this. We're that. Um, where you getting this data from, if you don't mind me asking? You say you believe this. Can I ask where you got your information? How did you come to the logical conclusion that I'm sick, I'm perverted, I'm evil, I'm going out telling children to be transgender, I'm running through high schools recruiting folk. I haven't been in a high school in 20 years, Marjorie. I'm not recruiting anybody. I go to work every day. Where are you getting this from, Marjorie? And I opened that up to her today. Let's go to lunch or dinner at your restaurant of choice in DC and let's have a civil conversation. I'm open to find out where are you basing all of this hate? Where's it coming from, Marjorie? This a trans person do you wrong, or where are you basing all of this stuff that you put in and out on social media? There's no facts to this. You have no data, to my knowledge. If you have some data that says we're mainly a lot of criminals, I'm not committing crimes. Uh, um, where are you getting this from? Every time I've done that and they have accepted my offer, they had no data. They haven't even been around a trans person. Someone told me they were evil. I said, you believe everything someone tells you? I tell you that guy's a bad guy. You just gonna assume he's a bad guy because I said so? So I found once I got in front of these people and we sat down and had a meal, I didn't get that hate. We end up having a conversation like two regular American people trying to figure out why you don't like me. And I've never found any of them to have a basis for hate. I even had one told me, "You're not what I thought you were." I'm like, "Oh, I'm just a regular person. I bleed, I get sick, just like you. I'm just looking to be treated fairly. No more, no less. I'm not looking for special treatment." But I would love to take Marjorie Green out for lunch or dinner and just ask her, where do you get this information that we are such a bad group of people? I would love to find out why she thinks like she thinks. There's a reason she's doing this. I just want to know why. Why are you doing it? And if at the end of the meeting she still believes I'm an evil person, I'm not good people, I'm okay with that. But at least I would love to hear, why do you hate us so much? What have we done? What are we doing? What do you think we've done? I don't understand. Because I hear her say, oh, they're evil, they're bad. But where are you basing? How do you say I'm bad? What have I done to be bad? I gotta have done something to be an evil person, right? You just don't call somebody evil without reason. So I would love to ask her in person on my dime. What's up? I'm here. Tell me what you think of me and why do you think that way? And where did you get that thinking from? And maybe I can give her some light and education and awareness. Maybe she'll still hate me when we're done. But I love to talk to them because every time we have a conversation, they have nothing to really say about trans people have done this, nothing. Because trans people on the whole are a very quiet group of people. I mean, they're not really doing a whole lot at 1.5 million Americans are transgender. We're so small. Why do you hate such a small population? What have they done to you? I mean, we're so small. Why do you care?
Right. Like it seems that, it's an issue, particularly that the right is obsessive about. I think of like, people like Dan Bongino, and I think one of like his main concerns is they're always talking about the women, who transition to men have an unfair advantage in, competitive sports. Like, that's
Well,
like one of their concerns.
listen, I used to have testosterone in my body. I had all these surgeries and put estrogen in my body. I don't know the medical. I don't get involved in that. I don't know
Yeah.
when you go from an estrogen to a testosterone body, testosterone to an estrogen body, how much estrogen is there, how much testosterone, how much more do you have than your competitor? I'm not an MD. I can't answer that. So I don't get involved in that because I'm not as knowledgeable as I should be because they're saying women who turn into men or men who turn into women are especially men who turn into women are have an advantage over cis women who were born a women. They have higher testosterone. In my latest doctor visit, my testosterone level was so low, um, the estrogen was higher due to the injections than the testosterone. So if I was competing and you tested my body, my estrogen levels are higher than my testosterone due to my 20 years of putting estrogen in my body. So in my case, that wouldn't be true. I don't know about my other folks' cases. I can only speak to mine and what my medical body tells me. So I'm not sure if that's true or not, that they have an advantage because they have
Well,
higher
I don't
testosterone.
think it's a
I'm
real legitimate threat though to women's sports. There's a lot of bigger issues like
And
black
those that are
women.
competing, I know several, they've not won anything. I know several competing at a high level. They place fifth, they place sixth, they place seventh. So they're not like constantly winning. So I can understand if someone was winning every race, every event, who was a trans woman of color. But a lot of these folks just want to compete. Uh, I'm not seeing a whole bunch of trans women stand on the gold medal at the Olympics and have just swept through their competitors of women. I haven't seen that. I'm not sure where the threat is. If they have such an advantage, why are they not being gold medal winners all the time? If they're super athletes and they are super winners, why are they not winning consistently? It's not happening. It's, it's not happening. On the ones I know that still working at it and competing, they're at the Olympics. They're running in college at the NCAA. Some of them have won a few races, but they're not like super athletes where they're just outdoing the competition so far that you would say, "Oh my God, look at this trans woman." I don't see the advantages that they say. I don't, but I'm not a doctor, Ryan, so I can only speak to my body. Let me just clarify that. I don't compete, so that's not my field of expertise
I,
about
I
who
totally
has an
understand.
advantage,
I totally
who
understand. We
does.
could move on. Like I think like a lot of people and stuff and everything, they cite Leah Thomas as an example. Like the swimmer, like like she was one of the people who was very successful. Like I think it's a non-issue. It's not like happening at like such a rate where like you said where there's something to really be.
There's under 100 athletes to my knowledge. I heard there was like 62 competitively collegiate professional athletes who are trans. You worried about 60 to 80 professional athletes trying to make a name for themselves. I mean, does that sound like a number compared to the thousands of women competing at the NCAA and professional level? I don't understand where the threat comes from. I mean, if it was like thousands of us doing it, but we're under 100 people who compete at that level of NCAA, ACC, SEC, and at the Olympic level. It's a non-concern. I mean, we're talking about few athletes of less than 1%.
The 2024 election is quickly approaching. Are you happy with the Biden administration? Do you feel like, that he can win this election? And is that someone like you're hoping to win?
Well, at NMAC, we are doing a Get Out to Vote campaign, going to 8 HBCUs, starting with Howard. Then we'll go to Atlanta to Meharry, Clark, and Spelman, and Morehouse. Um, Listen, as a nonprofit director, I can't tell people who to vote for, but I will tell people, look at your candidates and make sure that the issues that you love, that are important to you, that this candidate has your back. Make sure if you're HIV positive, they want HIV funding. Make sure that if you want health care, that they want you to have good health care. I tell everybody who I vote for is between me and God, but please check out your candidates to make sure they are the type people you want to represent you at the House, Senate, and presidential level. So this is serious. You get the wrong people in, then they cut funding for HIV, education. They want to cut Social Security. Make sure you vote for a candidate that's got your back. I'm going to vote for the candidate that I believe has my back, who's got my best interests at heart as a Black trans woman of color voting in America. That's who I'm going to vote for.
I'm here with Toni D. Newman, the director of the Coalition for Justice and Equality Across Movements at National Minority AIDS Council in Washington, D.C. You're being honored by the National Bar Association's LGBTQ division. What does it feel like, to get recognition for all the work you've put in over the years?
I love the law. I know there's good lawyers and bad lawyers. People have sometimes a negative connotation of lawyers, but it's very nice to be in Vegas. My partner loves Vegas, first of all, and he's gambled at Caesar's Palace, so he loves to gamble at Caesar's Palace. So we're gonna get 2 nights to gamble in Vegas, catch a show, and I'm gonna receive an award with my good friend, very good friend, Marisha Bay Taylor in Los Angeles, who's also receiving an award. And I'm excited that we'll be together. I'll be with my partner, hanging out in Vegas, having a margarita,
Yeah.
and getting an award. I'm feeling pretty good, bro. I'm
Yeah,
feeling pretty good. I'm gonna be honest. I love Vegas. Now I can't stay down there because I come back broke because I be hitting that casino, and sometimes I don't win. But I'm feeling pretty good, and I'm excited to go to Vegas. I'm feeling pretty good.
that's most definitely. So much. Thank you so much for coming on and talking with me.
And before you go, I just want to say one thing. Look, guys, please buy my book. I know Ryan is an author. My book is called I Rise, The Transformation of Toni Newman. I used to have long braids, be a size 4. This is my picture when I first came out. I am no longer a size 4, folk, and I am bald. I cut my braids off. But my book is called I Rise, The Transformation of Toni Newman. You can go to Tony D. Newman with an I, .com to buy my book on Amazon, Google Reads, wherever you buy your book. I would appreciate your love during Pride. And also, we hope to have a movie called Heart of a Woman out next year, featuring the book, talking about sex, drugs, alcohol, prostitution, HIV, the story of me and the girls 30 years ago up until today. You might not like the story, but it'll be good TV. You might want to watch it. It'll be a good movie. And we hope to have that out in 2025. So thank you, Ryan, for your love. I send love back to you. And I appreciate your time, my man. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, much love to you. I thank you for coming on. It was very educational and so much like, congratulations on all your success. And make sure you check out that buffet at Caesars. I really appreciate you.
Oh my God, I love that buffet at Caesars. I also love those margaritas at Caesars and those
Right,
pina
right.
coladas as well. I
Definitely,
maintain it though. I'm not an alcoholic excursion, but I do love a good drink every now and then. And Caesar Palace knows how to do it. I
definitely.
love those cocktails.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You have a great one.
Bye bye. You too.